Listen to that. That crackle isn't static. It's radio waves from a lightning bolt, 1,000 times more powerful than anything that has ever struck Earth, recorded by a spacecraft that flew straight through the storm that made it. From here, Saturn looks like a jewel. Soft, gold, motionless. It's the planet parents point to first through a telescope. The one that makes kids gasp, but that calm is a lie. Saturn is a graveyard wearing a crown, a planet that shreds moons, drowns worlds in acid rain, and once forced NASA to kill its own spacecraft rather than let it drift too close. This is the truth behind the rings. For 400 years, Saturn has played the same role, the gentle giant, the photogenic one. Second largest planet in the solar system, nearly 10 times wider than Earth, and famous for a ring system so delicate it looks hand-painted. You could fit more than 750 Earths inside it. And yet it's the lightest planet in the solar system for its size, so light that if you found an ocean big enough, Saturn would float. It sounds almost gentle. Almost. But everything about that gentleness is about to fall apart. Here's the first thing people get wrong. Saturn's rings are not leftovers from the birth of the solar system. For decades, scientists assumed they'd been there for 4.5 billion years. But when NASA's Cassini probe flew directly between the planet and its rings during its final orbits, it weighed them. And they were far too light and far too clean to be that old. Therefore, something else had to be going on. In 2022, researchers at UC Berkeley ran the numbers and landed on a name for the culprit. Chrysalis. Chrysalis was an ice moon roughly the size of Iapetus, Saturn's third largest moon. But it wandered too close, into a zone where Saturn's gravity pulls harder on one side of an object than the other. Close enough, and that difference tears you apart. That's exactly what happened. Chrysalis was shredded, and its icy remains spread into the thin, glittering halo we photograph today. So the next time someone calls Saturn's rings beautiful, remember what you're actually looking at. Not decoration, debris. The scattered remains of a moon that got too close and never came back. But the rings are just the opening scene. Fly up to Saturn's North Pole, and the geometry alone should worry you. There's a 6-sided jet stream circling the top of the planet, a perfect hexagon, wider than 2 Earths side by side. Nature doesn't usually draw straight lines, but this one has held its shape since Voyager first spotted it in 1981, and researchers now think it may have been spinning for centuries. Winds along its walls reach roughly 300 miles per hour. Cassini's final measurements showed those same high-speed winds extend nearly 5,000 miles down into the planet's interior, meaning the hexagon isn't just weather on the surface. It's rooted in Saturn itself. At the center sits a polar vortex with an eye 50 times larger than a hurricane on Earth, and wind speeds nearly double our strongest cyclones. Unlike a hurricane, this storm never makes landfall, never loses energy over cold water, never dies. It has nowhere else to go, so it just stays there, spinning. For what may be hundreds of years, but even the hexagon isn't Saturn's most violent trick. That one only shows up once every few decades. Every 20 to 30 years, something erupts on Saturn that dwarfs anything the hexagon can do. Astronomers call it the Great White Spot. In 2010, Cassini watched one being born in real time. It started as a small white blemish. Within 3 weeks, it had grown to 6,000 miles across. By the following month, its tail had wrapped entirely around the planet, a storm that had, quite literally, encircled the world. Inside it, lightning fired up to 10 times every second, discharges so powerful that Cassini could detect them as radio bursts from orbit. That's the sound you heard at the very beginning of this video. The storm punched so much energy upward that it spiked the temperature of Saturn's stratosphere by roughly 150 degrees Fahrenheit, in a layer of atmosphere that is normally one of the most stable places on the entire planet. It raged for over 200 days before finally collapsing into a vortex larger, briefly, than Jupiter's Great Red Spot. And And it will happen again. Saturn doesn't outgrow its violence. It just waits for the next season to unleash it. But the planet itself is only half the story. Its moons are worse. Meet Titan. Bigger than the planet Mercury, wrapped in a thick orange haze, and the only other place in the solar system besides Earth with rivers, rain, and lakes on its surface. For a moment, that almost sounds hopeful, until you learn what those lakes are actually made of. At nearly 290 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit, water on Titan isn't a liquid, it's the bedrock. What flows across the surface instead is liquid methane and ethane. Essentially, Titan's lakes are made of the same stuff that fuels a camping stove, pooling into seas that would ignite instantly if this moon had enough oxygen to burn. It rains here. It has weather, seasons, even shorelines carved by liquid over millions of years. And in that thick nitrogen atmosphere, sunlight breaks down methane into a soup of complex organic molecules that fall from the sky like orange snow. Scientists call Titan the most Earth-like place in the solar system. But therefore, don't mistake familiar for safe. Land here without a heated suit, and you'd freeze solid before you ever noticed the toxic air. And Titan isn't even Saturn's most dangerous moon. That title belongs to something far smaller. Enceladus is tiny. You could fit it inside the state of Arizona. But it's hiding something Saturn's bigger moons don't have. From cracks near its south pole, nicknamed the Tiger Stripes, Enceladus fires jets of water vapor and ice hundreds of miles into space at speeds close to 800 miles per hour. When Cassini flew directly through one of those plumes in 2015, it found hydrogen gas, a possible energy source for microbial life, along with salts and organic molecules, consistent with a warm, buried ocean beneath the ice. For a moment, this sounds like good news. A hidden ocean, warmed from within, maybe even alive. But that possibility is exactly what makes Enceladus dangerous, not to visit, to even get near. Because if a spacecraft carrying even a trace of Earth bacteria ever crashed into that ocean, we could contaminate the one place in this solar system that might actually be asking the biggest question in science on its own terms. And it did. By 2017, Cassini had spent 13 years circling Saturn. It was running out of fuel, and once that fuel was gone, no one could steer it anymore. Therefore, there was a real risk. An uncontrolled spacecraft could, decades from now, drift into Enceladus or Titan and crash, carrying Earth microbes into a possibly living ocean. So NASA made a brutal decision. Rather than risk it, they flew Cassini straight into Saturn itself. On September 15th, 2017, the spacecraft plunged into the atmosphere at over 70,000 miles per hour, transmitting data until the moment it burned apart. Saturn didn't just claim a moon and terrify a solar system with storms. It claimed the very spacecraft that had spent 13 years studying it, because getting too close to this planet's family was too dangerous to risk, even for a machine. And here's the part that should really change how you see that jewel in the telescope. The rings you're looking at, the ones that made Saturn famous, are already falling apart. Saturn's gravity is slowly pulling ring material down into its own clouds, a phenomenon scientists call ring rain. Current estimates suggest the rings could vanish, in cosmic terms, within the next few 100 million years. Which means the version of Saturn, calm, golden, wrapped in that perfect halo, is temporary. A brief, violent moment between one shredded moon and the slow death of its remains. We happen to be alive at exactly the right time to see it.